So after like the first, whatever it's been, like 10 days, Brian, who you got winning the World Cup? East Germany?
I
Latvia?
do like the East German squad, but I'm gonna go with gigantic human beings. I'm gonna go with the Dutch. I think
You,
it is
you,
the year of the orange.
you and Tom Roberts are Dutch fans.
Okay.
I can't abide by the Dutch because of Arjen Robben. I couldn't stand him as a player, and I've just
Mm.
made like their whole team and life like the antithesis of what I
I
like.
don't know anything about it. I just remember maybe it was '98. I think Burnkamp had this like amazing goal, and I'd never seen anything like it before. This goal that Burnkamp made like way back then, and I thought that team's cool. I'm gonna root for them because of a person.
I mean, that's how it goes, right?
And when I played a video game way back then, I liked Alan Shearer, and so I thought England was kind of cool. But no, I like to shit on England. It's more
Yeah.
fun.
I, I
It's way more fun.
You can't root for England. Watching Harry Kane buff one over the top of the crossbar again yesterday was just so delicious. Like I love when he fails. He's always played for teams I hate, and I know he's really
Yeah.
good, but he's always plays on teams I
How
hate.
about you, Kaya? What sad post-communist country are you rooting for?
Yeah, how's
Um,
Chechia doing?
None of them. I thought Ivory Coast was super fun to watch in their first game. Like super, super fun. It just looked, yeah, I
Mm,
And
remember
then
I remember seeing them play in other World Cups, but for whatever reason, it's just I'll go with them.
when Cote
I,
d'Ivoire had Drogba, they were so much fun to watch. I miss him.
yeah, Cote d'Ivoire is awesome, but then they got the Blitzkrieg by Germany, and that was no fun.
Yeah.
You guys being all fancy and French and shit.
Cote d'Ivoire,
I'm
Cote
kidding. I know
d'Ivoire,
Francia.
that's the correct
the
if
largest importer of their major imports are chocolate, and I forget
I
what
can learn to
else.
say Turkey, I can learn to say Côte d'Ivoire as well.
I can't do it. I can't
Yeah.
even. I still
Turkey.
think the continent's called Australia, so I'm
The
So,
Automaton Empire.
welcome to the 2 Month Review, the weekly podcast brought to you by Open Letter at the University of Rochester, in which we take a giant book, break it down bit by bit, talk about it, have fun, entertain you, give you some insights. And this season, we are reading The Life and Adventures of Trobadora Beatrice, as chronicled by her minstrel Laura, a novel in 13 books and 7 intermezzos by Irmtraud Morgner, translated from the German by Jeanette Clausen. That takes the longest time to say every single podcast. I'm Chad
Yeah.
Post, Open Letter Books, joined as always by Kaya Stromanis, editorial director at Coffee House Press. How are you doing, Kaya, aside from lamenting your Eastern European soccer woes?
Hello. I'm fine. Thanks, Chad. How are you?
I'm good. Brian Wood, author of Joytime Killbox. How are you, man?
I'm fantastic. This book actually has a lot to do with publishing and how publishing actually works in
Yeah.
this section. So I have
Yes.
a lot of questions for both of you, since I know that you guys are involved with this soup to nuts, from writing, from translating, from editing, from how to blurbs, cover, what goes on the cover, where does the translator's name go, what, like, everything and everything in between. So I'm really, when we get to it, I'm really curious. I think I want to pick your brains of how the East Germany does it versus how you guys do it. I'm curious if this is
Yeah.
how it works
It's
in
basically one for one, man.
Yeah,
in
all the
this
same.
fictitious world.
I'm trying to remember who I knew that worked at Aufbau, but like I've known people from Aufbau for ages, so it's fun to see them pop up in here and be like, the one is like, hey, I should call you. This section, we are covering today. We're covering books 8 and 9 and the fourth intermezzo. It starts on page 168, ends on page 242. And before we get into that, I have a themed game for you that was suggested by Brian a couple weeks ago, and I
Ah.
put it into play. So what we're going to do to start this off. So in this, we are going to talk about these sections. We will talk about the book more specifically. We'll talk about the publishing, talk about Mulligan Stew and Lanark and all the references that seem to be in this book or echoes of these other books that we've talked about. But to start off, I'm going to play a game in which I will give you one Eastern German writer and one international Eastern German footballer. These are all old because obviously East Germany is kaput. But there's zero chance you have of getting this right outside of just guessing. Like, I don't think there's anything. This this has been invented for me to say names, but
I
I
don't
can't.
know either. I just can't wait to hear what were the popular baby names.
Well, okay. So first one. One of these is going to be a author, and one of them is a footballer. Okay, so one name is Frank Baum. Frank Baum. The other is Adolf Endler. Who's the footballer? Frank Baum or Adolf Endler?
I think Baum has to be the footballer.
Baum is the footballer. You are correct. I thought that you would get that wrong because it sounds like the guy that wrote Wizard of Oz.
I mean, it does also, but
Because I think his name was Frank Baum, maybe?
I
I
think
don't know.
so. Yeah.
Frank Album, yeah.
Whatever. Like middle names matter.
What is it with these stupid authors in there? We got to throw initials in there. Oh my gosh! And sometimes there's like two of them. Like really, George R. R. Martin or you know LBJ Tolkien or whatever his name. Like, come on.
LBJ Tolkien. It all started with RFK and JFK and LBJ,
Yeah.
and we're all done from here.
Well done, Kai. What was the thought process behind Adolf had to be the writer? Well,
Adolf, something
I've only
about
read one
Adolf.
book by Adolf,
Yeah,
and it wasn't that good.
wasn't
No,
him.
there aren't any more of
Um,
them either, I believe.
Just the one.
There's no more Adolfs.
just something about the surname Endler sounds like
Indler.
it
Yeah.
sounds like
Okay.
literary.
Okay, here's a good one for you. Okay. One name, Volker Brown. Volker Brown. And the other is Wolfgang Clank. Wolfgang Clank.
Oh, well, everybody knows Wolfgang Clank was the left defender, circa, 53 to 62.
I can look to see how right you are. But yes, that is actually right. So
Yeah,
he was a goalkeeper though, 52 to 53.
Okay.
So you were
I
like
think
almost spot on. like within like a
Okay.
few position places there.
and
Yeah.
it was Volker Braun.
Yeah.
That actually
Volker
sounds
Brown.
familiar as a writer too. You may have mentioned
Ah.
it in previous weeks.
Okay, here's a confusing-ish one. What do I want to do here? Okay. Andreas Bailau or Helmut by Errol? Andreas Bailau or Helmut by Earl?
I think Andreas is the footballer.
Andreas is the footballer. How are you guys getting these right?
Nice.
Bailau,
This
because
is-
Bailau seems like it would look really good on the back of a jersey.
Oh my God. Okay. Last one. This one is for you, Brian, specifically. Klaus Decker. It sounds like a comedy show. Klaus Decker or Urish Koch.
You did it on purpose.
Cocker Decker, where are we going?
Everyone knows that Klaus Decker was a formidable striker.
He was a footballer. You got it right again. Let's see what he was. He was a defensive
Dang it.
player. He
Okay.
played three. He played three times, but
Okay.
you know, I have no idea. I have to look him up each time.
Well done. Well done.
So that was fun. You guys got those. That's surprising because none of those names, I don't think you never recognize any of them,
I
right? Like they're
just-
just like
No,
random.
other
I
than
was just dead ass guessing, but
I just wanted to say Cock and Decker. Everything came about when I saw those two names. It's like, oh, we must. We must.
so I have a question about names. Nothing to do with the book, but some writing advice that I give people sometimes. I feel like writers are really terrible at trying to have like unique names, and they just sound terrible or
First, when they
fake.
start making up bands, when they start
Sure.
making up
Oh my
band names,
gosh.
get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like they're
And
so
so
bad at it.
the advice that I gave this one writer that just had terrible names all throughout, like unless you're doing some sci-fi book where every name has to have a Z and an X in it.
Isn't that how we just spell things now?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm all maxing out over here.
I told them, like, if it's set in North America, just go to like ssa.gov and see around what year your character is born and just randomly pick a number between 1 through 20 and that's their first name. Like take the top 20 most popular names from that year, just choose one of them and then make it work.
That's
Good
why
advice or bad advice, do you think?
that's why Oedipa Maas and Crying Lot 49 is not named Sarah.
There you go. Well, sometimes, sometimes if you want your character to be Winston Smith because you're so smart, like, sure, like you can
Yeah,
do that. I get it.
but most people aren't.
No, but like,
95% of authors can't do
but
that.
when you're writing, like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan fiction, you don't need to get too clever with the names, right? Like,
Isn't there someone named Xander in that show?
I
Yeah.
probably with it spelled with an X, I bet.
With a silent J. Yeah. So no, I agree with you. Like, it's a good way to find names because people do name things silly, and or loaded. Like they name things from. I feel like if I were an author, I would name things based on what's popular now, not on what you're saying of when your character is born.
Okay, so then you
You know
have
what
a
I mean?
character name that's out of place
That would be
and
anachronistic.
out of time. Yeah.
You'd be like Karen, and they're like Karens weren't really a thing in that point in time.
Is this all just leading to Animaxander?
Animaxander is interesting. Yeah. Well, does she have sex with the unicorn in this?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
No.
Yeah, she
She
totally
gets
doesn't have
to
sex with the unicorn in this book.
she gets to keep the unicorn until she has sex for the first time.
That's right. That's right. Now I'm remembering. I flipped through
I
there.
had no idea there were so many useful, nutritional benefits
So,
from unicorn parts. So there's a lot of nutrition in this section too.
I mean, this
A lot
is
of
RFK
protein.
Jr. coded all the way through. If this had raccoon dicks in it, we would be golden.
Oh my God.
Cheryl,
There
where's
is
where's
genes.
my raccoon dick?
There are genes.
Yes. Like, give me my reading jeans. Um, uh, yeah. So we should talk about this. Also, American women take shots in this, guy. How you feeling about your representation? Unavoidable, annoying. Like American women, no good.
No, I don't identify as that anyway, but I mostly noticed my feelings about men in this section.
All good. Because men are
No.
perfect.
No. And we can put a pin in that because that's something I want to talk about for what is it? It's not all of book nine. No, it's not book
It,
nine.
it is
It's
all of mine. Oh.
the fourth intermezzo.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we should go through this one in order because this book
Yes,
is
please.
chaotic and it's hard to wrap your head around in terms of like a structure. At least for me it is. I found that this first part in book 8, like chapter 1, might actually be the best moment so far in which the book defines what it is as a structure, in which it's a montage novel. So in the first part of book 8, we have Laura, um, Beatrice goes off. She's going to go do something and give up being Trobadora and her artistic endeavors all together. So Laura decides to offer Aufbau Verlag a montage novel. This is the part where Brian, I started to think this was Mulligan Stew like. Like everything
Yeah.
is like a crazy shit. Because we're gonna get to book 9 where it's talking, like you said, about food and like some Soylent Green sort of like nonsense where you can make the artificial food and all your nutrition is in a little cube. But that part is so wild because it's like the scientific writing. There's all these different,
Mhm.
we're starting to get more of those modes that reminded me of Mulligan Stew, where it's like, where heap this all together, it will be a book simply by having all these different components together. But she's gonna write that. There is I don't know where to go from here. You guys interrupt me as I start to try and walk through this. We then get a section in which there is an interview by the beautiful Melusine with the Soviet chess grand champion, Dr. Solovyov, in which she incorporates into her book. But this is part, Kaya, where I think you might be talking about how men aren't so great, aren't the nicest.
I mean, yeah.
Or they're like, guess what? Women can't play chess. Too warlike for them. They're not good at it. They can't do that. They also can't do the male science style of scientific thought. They can't do a lot of
Mhm.
things. So you get more, and this is the part where, for me, this was starting to remind me of what you had said at the beginning, Kaya, with the Golden Notebook, where we're getting a lot of these kind of example after example of men's prejudices and
Yeah.
biases and like just overall not being so good.
Yeah, but I do like that even with those examples, the female characters are always sort of not always the men are not always aware of it, but cutting back at them. At least I read it that way at the end of the interview with the chess guy, where he's going on and going on, and then Melistine says, "That is absolutely selflessly sensible. Am I correct in my assumption that you preach wine in public and secretly drink water?" And he's like, "You are correct." And what does your wife say about that? When I make concessions to her in interviews, she comes down a notch. Thank you. But like this, I just like this sort of veiled, like, am I correct in my assumption that you're just fucking running your mouth and you're just not all that hot shit? And he's like, uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. My favorite part of this page is like that next chapter, chapter 3, where Beatrice finally gives Vesselin a bath, and he has a piece of paper, and the piece of paper is how to design a Molotov cocktail. Which, for
Yeah.
anyone who's looking, page 171. Not gonna make any suggestions, just gonna point out where the textual information is available. So, fill the bottle 3/4 full of gasoline, with 1/4 heavy lubricating oil. Just saying. Is anyone's not
Lubricating oil.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like
You're gonna
the
have a lot of
wrong
dumb people
thing.
mixing a lot of dumb things together based off of those
Where do I
instructions.
get a 5 liter bottle of lubricating oil? I see 5 liters. That's a lot of lubricating
They
oil.
sell KY at Costco.
I, hey, you have to grease your axle, as it says here in the text.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
I'm assuming that's what they're talking about there.
Axel also happens to be, I think, a quite popular German name. So there you have it.
And Rose.
Grease your axles.
That's fair.
I don't know.
Okay. So yeah, so I mean, this goes along. This is where this starts to get like, in terms of recapping this, it's impossible. Like, I wrote a bunch of notes before coming to talk to you guys, and my recap goes: Laura Upper's montage novel. Women are bad at chess. Stories don't sell. Beatrice travels the Black Sea. Beatrice shits on Laura. How many
Uh-huh.
levels of authorship are in this fucking book? American women suck. This is like my entirety of my recap. So I don't know exactly where to go with here, but I thought it would be useful to walk through just simply because it is so confusing. But
Mhm.
Brian, what do you think so far on this part, or in this particular middle section that we're talking about?
Yeah, it's very confusing, but I find it really interesting how the author's like constantly shifting gears in the way you can tell stories and the way you can have narrative.
Mhm.
The the amount of playfulness is it's extremely committed to the playfulness of it. And I think there's like an underlying for me there's like an underlying thing that stitches it all together where womanhood, creativity, like we're supposed to be in like this perfect society for women, and it's just work. Like it is a burden. It is a grind. It's a lot. And I feel that when I'm reading it. I almost feel like it's kind of maybe the point of how and why she's writing it the way she is.
Yeah, I can see that. There's like a very simple reading where it is just like, look at how men are awful. They're supposed to be so like socialist ideas are supposed to bring us to like this greater sense of humanity, less work, like you
Hmm.
say, like more time for leisure. You do what's appropriate. Everyone's equal. We don't have this property rights. Women are not property, and yet at the same time, that's all hypocritical. Like every instance of this is basically like women can't do this. And when you talk
Hmm.
about the montage novel form of the novel and the like kind of frenetic weirdness of this whole book. I mean, on some basic level, again, it's just like, well, men write one way, and they told women they can't write that way, and they don't count
Hmm.
when they write that way. So this is something different, and that something different has to be almost not incomprehensible, but like hard to understand. Otherwise, it's just going back into being co-opted by what like the kind of male version is.
Well,
And I think like that's a tension.
Bobby Fischer is good at chess because that's all he does. Chess has consumed his entire life. He's 100% chess, right?
And
Women
buried
are
in
not
ice.
allowed to be 100% anything. And so you will not be good at chess.
They have to have babies too.
Sure. And so
Yeah.
like in some ways it's like there like you have to write the book this way or it's not going to be a good book. You're not going to be good at writing. You're not going and you're seeing all these different ways like no, there's like streams, avenues like it's yeah, I feel like that's kind of being spoken to here as well in the same section.
Is, I mean, as someone who reads a couple books at the same time is that it's also in this book, Brian, going off of what you just said, that it does describe women as essentially always having to multitask. That's just
Mm-hmm.
I think you're
women's lot in life. And you don't get that moment to sit down and do something, just focus on it.
Yes, I
Okay,
think
that
that
is.
is in here somewhere, but I don't remember where. There's so many, I have so many lines that are underlined, and again, like
Hmm.
looking through it ahead of time, it's like none of these lines necessarily connect to one another. Like there's not an easy way to like say, I want to talk about these portions because it's like men hating women or writing, essentially, I guess is a thread, or like all these characters, which I want to come back to these characters. But I do want to
Hmm.
say, well,
Or unicorn
or
and basic
unicorn.
nutrition.
Nutrition
Interesting.
could be hitting. Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Like, what are the threads to pull this together?
to put a not put a pin, but to help anyone listening when we talk about the novel, the shoot, the word escapes me. Like the patchwork novel or the what is
Montage.
it?
Montage.
Montage, thank you. Page 175.
Ah,
And
yeah.
that is the interview between which you already mentioned, Laura, and the publisher at Aufbau
Oh, yeah.
Verlag.
The first
And
reference to it is earlier than that. Is the one that
was
I was.
it?
Yeah, the one that I was referring to is on page 169. It says, when Beatrice declared her intent to renounce the profession of troubadour and artistic endeavor altogether, Laura decided to offer the Aufbau Verlag
Oh,
montage novel.
sorry,
And
you're
then
right.
she
Yes.
does the interview on 175, which is the part that I think you wanted to talk about, Brian, and that has like a sort of like a turn towards you. The novel you offer is no novel, but a collection of stories. Are you aware that anthologies of his stories don't sell well?
Yeah.
That
But
must not feel great.
no, but real quick before we get into Brian's feelings about that, I just wanted to point out that at least to me, I guess okay, between 169 and 175, those two statements were very helpful in contextualizing, and I think we must have said that 2 weeks ago, but in contextualizing how this book works, that was a moment where I think for a lot of people, a couple of people who've reached out to us off pod have been like, that's the one that sets you up for, I don't know if success, but you kind of feel more connected.
Yeah. I do think that there's a element to this where it's kind of like once you see the whole pattern, maybe it makes more sense, even though
Yeah.
it may be intentionally not fit together in like an incompleteness sort of way to go back to like being writing anti-male in a sense.
Yeah.
But there's something because this has some specific examples where I feel like the sentences are invert or reversed, and I'll get to
Hmm.
that too. But with this part, referring to what you said, Kaya, in terms of the montage novel and as like a sort of structure for approaching this book. After the Aufbau Verlag editors tells Laura that stories don't sell, she says, "Well, what I'm offering is the novel form of the future, which is part of the operative genre." All right. Oh, okay. The contract, like
Yeah.
they go on, but she's offering like a future form, a new form of breaking with the form. So to add on to like everything that you said, I think that that sentence works too.
Yeah. So take notes, Brian. This is what you need to do to
Well,
get
it's
somewhere in
close
your
because,
craft.
right, she says, in view of violent political movements throughout the world and appalling information explosion, that is possible nowadays only for lethargic or stubborn characters. So the novel form of the future. So she's thinking of like chopping it up, right? Making it faster paced. And I think she's close to that. The actual novel of the future is called Bookshots. It's a line of fast-paced novella-length stories created by James Patterson, designed to be read in a single sitting. Each book is under 150 pages, priced affordably, under $5, and features intense, 100% story-driven plots.
Yep.
I
I
think
can't remember how many times I made fun of this dumb thing.
she was close, but not quite.
Not quite.
Wait, okay. By the time you finish that, this is a real thing. You didn't just make this up
No, this is a real
for
thing.
this.
It came about like maybe in 2022. Is that are you looking at the release?
Um, I just let's see. Key features of Bookshots: all thriller, no filler.
Yep.
Oh my
The
God.
It's the
concept was
best.
developed to be short for shorter attention spans and busy readers. They cut out excessive character backstory and lengthy descriptions in favor of rapid cinematic action.
What I call the bullshit part of reading. They believe they were only supposed to be sold at grocery store aisles initially as well, but I don't know that that worked out super well. But they were.
I would
available
imagine like
at
an airport
Wegmans.
kind of book, like something you pick up
They are literally
for a
like the
flight.
thinnest thing you can imagine. They're like, it's so dumb. They look like a word search sort of book, but then it'll have
Mhm.
like James Patterson. It's like written by someone else, like with a generic name, but his name's all over it. Yeah, those things are
I'm glad I've never seen those in the wild.
they're not as bad as like the other predating that as an idea from like a big five corporate publisher on how to engage people who don't want to read. Their big idea was the vlog thing where they had video books where people would just explain the book by video and you wouldn't have to bother reading it at all. That was one option that was
So
fun.
Bookshots started in June of 2016.
Oh, it's even way older than I thought. Time has
Yeah.
passed a lot.
So they've been out for about 10 years. But they are both kind of correct in a certain kind of way, I think.
Like the short versus the old.
She's joking, but like the orthodox novel form requires sustaining a concept over several years, right? And what she's saying is like the world is just changing way too fast, way too fast, way too fast. And in some ways, I kind of agree. I've had to change the ending of my novel 4 times because I was trying to do something bombastic and crazy, and those things have already happened. And so then, like, you can't have it if it's already happened. It's just like, oh gosh, like I have to hurry up because the world goes way too fast. All your ideas end up happening. What you thought would be a farce is, hey, here's an idea. Let's have somebody like remodel the entire. They're going to say they're going to drain the swamp. They remodel the entire reflecting pool, and then the reflecting pool turns into a swamp. Wouldn't that be funny?
That would be hilarious. Never
Right?
gonna happen.
It's like that's a dumb joke.
Fake news.
That's a stupid dumb joke. First off, like it's like a bad Onion that got rejected on the Onion, writers' room, and then then it happens, and you're like, oh geez, how about we have a cage fight on the White House lawn and like
Yeah.
the Nitro Circus jumping dirt bikes in front of Jefferson's memorial? Like, let's do that. That's stupid. Don't do that.
Have you tried unicorns?
I'm gonna do a
Yeah, you should end with unicorns. Nobody's done
unicorn
that yet.
unicorn nutrition cookbook.
Yeah.
We are recording on June 24th, the day that the America's 250th roadside picnic fucking State Farm. What is this thing called that's happening tonight that's kicking off? That's equally ridiculous. The Great Road Show. The Great American Road Show or whatever that Trump is kicking off because no one would do his dumb concert.
I have actually not heard of this at all.
Oh, it's pretty awful.
The
It's-
list of
And
artists.
I listen to NPR.
Wait, I sent you the thing about Milli Vanilli? That was like to me the
Yeah,
funniest.
because the Milli Vanilli was going to play, but one's dead. Like Vanilli is dead, and Milli doesn't sing the songs on the fucking album. Like the people who sing the songs that go by the name Milli Vanilli, because it was all like it was fake, right? It was all fake. It was the beginning of the grifts, and the people who do sing it were like, well, no one contacted us, but we're the people who sing the songs, not this guy who faked it. Like, what an absurd world we live in. By the way, I found this thing. I just got to read this to you because I did find it. So there's a post I made in 2009 called Yet Another Bad Publishing Idea. It's about HarperCollins. And it says, when HarperCollins announced their latest innovation, quote unquote, video books, earlier this week, thousands of people around the country came up with the same joke. Yeah, they're called movies. But here's the description from HarperCollins, guys. This is wild. For those who don't have time to listen to an audiobook, let alone read a hard book or ebook, HarperCollins brings you the video book. Perhaps fittingly, the first author to get the video treatment is Buzz Machine's Jeff Jarvis, whose books What Would Google Do will be available on all the other formats as well, according to Wall Street Journal. They said that the video book will go on sale on Tuesday for $10. It's a 23-minute video with Jarvis speaking into a single camera with a white background. And instead of reading from the book, which was published last month, he's going to run through the basic concepts. And that's it.
That's not
This
what
is
is a video book?
That's a TED Talk.
That's a dating profile. That's an old school dating profile.
2009 was crazy, guys.
That's literally a TED Talk. Hey, here's a 20-minute thing on like my 10 years of research for this book. Like, right? Like that's
For this grifty ass book that I put together. That's like
the white background.
the white background, like a
I was just gonna
prison,
try to
like where he belongs.
Oh my God.
I do enjoy pets. I will be it's a bad dating video. You're right.
I'm
I'm
No,
not
but
an
I just
axe
thought, like-
murderer. I'm not an axe murderer. No one's found my fingerprints anywhere.
I feel like for sure though that Morgner's she's having a lot of fun writing this.
Oh,
and,
God.
and you can
She's
tell.
totally
Like,
having a lot of fun.
the publishing process, like I don't know where these negotiations come from or how you can just like throw them into a book, but I love it.
It's like Mulligan Stew.
Well, I was trying to figure out a way how to shoehorn transcripts from a conversation into a novel, and it's just like just drop them in. Who cares?
Yeah, it
Like,
doesn't.
well, literally
you
drop
don't have to
them in.
invent anything. It's really freeing for me saying this, like how she does this so elegantly, and like you don't even think about it. And like
No,
I'm
and also,
stressing
like-
over it, and it's pretty easy. Just do it.
And next book that you sell, you take the stuff that you weren't able to sell or that someone reneged on, and you just
Put it
drop
in.
it into your you're like, no, it's part of it now.
Yeah, it's
Like,
part of it now.
That's
I have a question about that, but first I do want to say this is a question for you, Kaija. On 176, when it's talking about that in that bit, it says for Beatrice, writing is an experimental process. Short prose is compressed air and concentrated in very intense form. Apart from temperament, short prose is in keeping with a normal woman's life rhythm, which is socially and biologically conditioned and constantly diverted by the interruptions of household responsibilities. How you feeling?
Yeah.
How did you
Yes.
feel seen?
Yeah. Oh my God. Truly, in the margin, it says, "Is this why I didn't like writing long form fiction?" When I was my bachelor's degree, part of it is in creative writing, and I didn't have the attention span for long form fiction, so it was all short fiction. So fuck yeah, I feel seen.
And so when we tell you that short fiction doesn't sell, that's misogynistic in a way.
Oh no, this is why I'm a translator, because I wasn't trying to sell my own stuff. That's a fool's game.
I'm just teasing, just making a stretch there, just looking for it.
I like this part here. Truth about life and books cannot exist without the author's belief in himself. That's Laura's. This is funny the way she wrote this, right?
Yep.
Speaking about her female author that she's representing. A mosaic is more than the sum of its stones. Another way of saying like a montage novel, right?
Yep.
A mosaic is more than the sum of its stones. In the composition, they have a strange effect with and against each other and under the eye of the viewer. Reading should be creative work, pleasure.
That's one of my favorite lines so far.
Interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like there's this really bad poem by that guy that everybody hates, Billy Collins. And it talks about how like he tries to teach his like students poetry, and like all they want to do is strap the poem to a chair and like beat the shit out of it until it gives up its secrets. And then like he tells them like, I want you to put a mouse in a maze and watch it get out. I want your poem to water ski and wave at you while you stand on the shore. Like he wants you to be creative and have fun, but like all we want to do is beat the shit out of it. And like I feel like when I'm reading this, I'm like I want to strap this book to a chair and just like, what? Tell me what you're doing. Like, bah, bah. It's like, no, just have fun. Just like, don't worry about it. Have fun.
You should save your political stuff.
secrets?
Save your political stuff for your Andrew Tate appearance next week.
Yeah.
All your abuse of these books and these chairs.
Is it safe? Tell me about the book. Is it safe? Okay, yeah, but yeah, it's this crazy mosaic. You don't need to understand what this one little piece of it is. Just relax, step back, like take a big picture of it, see what you see.
Mm-hmm.
I think from now on, everyone's safe word should be Trobadora.
Mine's unicorn.
Yeah. So yeah, here's one of the sections. Here's one of those sections that I think is like where it's backwards. So you have 181. Laura was surprised by mail from Odessa. The sender was none other than Beatrice de Dia. 184. There's your letter from Beatrice to Laura. This happens a lot in this section. I have it on another page where it's specifically two sentences that I think should be reversed. It's on 199. I was soon able to occupy a red chair. Period. In order to enjoy the crowds in the market behind the East Colonnade, comma goes on, feels like that would be reversed normally. There's a lot of stuff in this section that's backwards in my mind. And that's part of this like analypsis or whatever it's called, where she's fucking with your state of like cause and effect. Even I do have a question for you guys. That's a very specific question. On 206, there's the reference to the interpreter's rough translation. Sarah Kirsch, for example, would seem well suited. That's from Beatrice referencing Sarah Kirsch. Then Sarah Kirsch shows up again. Was she in here before? I don't remember. That name sounds familiar, but I can't place where I saw it.
Um,
There is a joke about schnapps, right?
Yeah,
a
she
lot
can't
about
drink because she's
schnapps.
drunk or because she's pregnant.
No, with like the name, her last name being a schnapps.
Oh,
Being
Kirsch. It's a
cherry.
cherry. It's a cherry
Yeah.
liqueur, I believe.
is it spelled that way?
It
I
should,
think so.
yeah, it just means cherry, but or that's like literal. Um, isn't she just like, wasn't she one of the other workers with Laura who went on maternity leave first?
It's possible. It's
She
more than
mentions
possible. There's
having
so
a
many
kid.
people. Which which is the thing that like I was gonna ask you guys last week because we skipped a week for anyone listening because of various scheduling conflicts. But I read this in time for last week and then went back and looked at it today. So I've been away from it for a little while. But last week, what I wanted to talk about was the idea that there are two books and maybe four narrators in this book. So there's our book one, two through 13. There's the intermezzos, which are a separate book. So there's your two books. In our book, we have Beatrice sometimes narrating, we have Laura sometimes narrating. In the other book, sometimes it's Uva the journalist, and sometimes it's Valeska, his estranged or divorced wife or ex-wife.
Mhm.
But there's four people that sort of like rotate through this. And one of the things that I was stumbling on last week or like was thinking about is that the characters from the inserted book from the Intermezzos also show up in our book. So like the levels of what things are, if this is embedded, are moving throughout there, but not necessarily being the same character. But I thought that was really interesting in like who is, I mean, Ermtraud, even as a character within this, in the very first section we read, is the one who is the consciousness organizing the material we're reading. But within that material, there are multiple people that are narrating it that have similar levels of importance, at least with Beatrice and Laura, are equally valuable. So it's like going back to what we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, like it's disrupting the male protagonist hero narrative by having more than one speaker and by not having like our focus, I suppose, is on Beatrice. It's the book's about her, but it's kind of about Laura getting the manuscript to Ermtraud in a way too. Like Beatrice is going to, my assumption based on that beginning thing and thinking back on it now is that Beatrice is going to go away. Laura's the one left at the end of this book. So is Laura not kind of the protagonist in a sense? Like I think that there's something going on with disrupting that and disrupting the idea of like what is inside here as being fiction. And all of that is very fun, but also it is disorienting if you're used to like other types of books. This isn't, it can't, I almost feel like in a Stanislaw Lem sort of way, it can't tell you what it's doing because then it wouldn't be alien. It has to be different to prove its point that difference is possible.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, if you think about it, like Beatrice is purely magical. Like she can't exist, but she does, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, sure, whatever. Like, no idea how your dragon lady sister or whatever made you. I don't. Whatever. Cool, you're here. Like she shouldn't exist. She's magical. She's creative. There is nothing that can stop her. Like rules. Like I don't know any rules. Whatever. Like where do I go? Let's do it. I'm here now. Let's make something. So she's like this creative force. She's like absolutely purely magical and not tethered to the rules and the constraints of a modern world. Laura is the exact opposite. She is freaking tired. Tired.
Yeah.
Right? And she's like very real. and she's rooted and she's grounded in a structure. And so, like, you see the clash between these two, or how they can meld together to make something happen, and you see it from both sides. And so, yeah, maybe one will disappear and the other arises, or the other shows up, and the more, like, yeah, it feels like it's kind of like a tug and play between the creativity and then the constraint and the responsibility
And
that
like
I'm noticing.
the socialist realist nature
Yeah, yeah.
too, right? Like their meetings and their rules.
Do you think that in a certain way, Beatrice is, whether it be directly or indirectly, kind of preparing Laura then, or training Laura to take over? Like, what is the career path to troubadour? Do you start as a minstrel and then do you move up to be in the troubadour? So is Beatrice basically being like, well, I don't want to write anymore. You can write. Here are these. I'll do the travel. I'll do this thing, but I just want to, like, I slept for 840 years. I just want to,
I'm well
like, I just want
rested.
to,
I'm
yeah,
ready
I'm
to
well
go.
rested. I'm disturbingly well preserved as well. And I just, like, like, she's like doing, I don't know that she feels upset about doing other things. And maybe Laura is just being prepared.
Well, it's kind of like when you look back to, like, and I'm gonna sound like an idiot to people that study this and get their PhD in it, but that's okay. Like, when you look back to, like, the feudal system, like, cool, you get to be this wonderful knight, but you're given all of these lands, you're giving all of these titles, you're just born into it, didn't have to do shit, and then you have all these people that do all, like, the grunt work that allows you to exist, and then write your courtly love poems and to travel around, and, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so, like, I kind of wonder too if, like, Laura serves as, like, the serf, or is she the page
Yeah.
for this heroic for this heroic thing to exist, right? Doing all the dirty work, doing all the letters, meeting with these people.
The one who writes and doesn't act.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I wonder when you're saying that Beatrice can't be, because we found that there's not that many female troubadours. It's all like whatever. She is the feminine creative force that's not motherhood
Yeah.
in this book. And maybe, like, even just like, okay, so you've created this grand, beautiful socialist world in which Marx is right and things can, like, progress in that way, and yet it has no creativity within it. And maybe she is bringing that back as, like, a feminine force. I'm just spitballing here based on what you're saying, Brian.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one. I'm not trying to strap it to a chair and make it say the safe word, but
You will give us your answers?
Troubadour! Yeah. You're not saying it right.
don't yuck my yum, you guys. Come on.
That's what she
Ah,
said.
Brian, we would never yuck your yum.
I'm glad you're the one doing these voices. I can't. I sound like an asshole, but I really sound like an asshole when it's German.
What I want it to be is the weird twins on Big Mouth,
Oh, fair enough.
but I can't do that.
Fair enough.
So again, sorry, Brian. Again, you don't want to strap it to a chair, but
Yeah, it feels like there's, like, this. It's almost like, if you want to think about it in, like, Jungian terms, like there's this battle within all of us, and we're kind of seeing, like, the fragmented parts of it separated and played out in this mosaic of writing.
Absolutely. So we get to the fourth intermezzo. I think we can skip ahead to there for sure. Oh, well, this is the part where Laura introduces Anaximander for the fun of it, which is the unicorn. She gets to keep him for a time, like you said, which I forgot.
so that's the story within the story, right? It's
Yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah, I guess so. There's
So Encino Man was based off of this book, and Ridley Scott's book Legend, or movie Legend. That's a motion book. It's called Legend, with Tom Cruise.
It's one of
in
those
which-
books with pictures.
in which Tim Curry tries to kill a unicorn, take a unicorn horn, I think. So that's also
Vaguely sounds familiar now.
what it was supposed to. I forget what happened, but it had a soundtrack by Tangerine Dream,
Oh,
which
okay.
I guess didn't fit really well with unicorns and elves or whatever. But
Imagine that.
Imagine
That's
that.
so
Yeah.
weird. Okay, so we get to the fourth intermezzo where I wrote I the Supreme. It sounds like the first page of this. But we get
Really?
Uva. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why, but I underlined and I looked for a new father, one you could look up to, one you could pledge yourself to, one you could believe in. And I just wrote I the Supreme. Who knows? My thought process
Sure.
is probably inaccurate
Yeah.
and a bit off at that point in time. But this part's about Uva writing his story, sort of. Berta, I forget exactly what this leads to, but 219 had the most Beckettian section of this book to me, which I'll just read where he's talking to his editor, and he's like, in the next minute he asked about the article. It isn't finished yet, said Uva. Why? Because it isn't finished yet. That's no answer. Yes, it is. I could be mistaken. You can contradict me, but I tell you, in this situation, that's no answer. I contradict you. With what right? Aha. In this situation, I demand. And then it goes on. I was like, that's such a weird Beckett sort of like patter back and forth of like, it is an answer. It's not, or like mixed with like with that Wittgensteinian sort of element of like, what is a speech act? Like,
Theater of the absurd. Yeah.
yep. Is a statement a thing? Oh,
That's
super fun.
interesting. That's
Uh,
interesting. Can I can
yeah,
I say
please do.
this okay, so the fourth intermezzo and this section, this chunk that we read overall, but the fourth intermezzo especially is to date what most reminds me of the Golden Notebook and the fourth intermezzo. It's like to me, like I understand why the algorithm recommended this after looking at Golden Notebook and similar things. Like I fully understand it. And there's I want to say a little bit more about it, but yeah, this because I see you're not nodding your head, Chad. Um, but I it's so much like the sections where Anna and Molly are dealing with Molly's ex-husband, like page 218. And I wrote in the margins like I am so tired of these men. I'm
Oh,
just so I wrote I don't give a fuck about Uva. Like I this section is beautiful. I think it reads beautifully, but I'm finding myself more and more just exasperated and tired of the male characters in this book. And that makes me feel bad because I feel like if the fourth intermezzo, like the Autumn for a Rumba, I'd probably enjoy it very much separate from itself if it were not placed, if it were not juxtaposed with this highly, what to me seems as a highly feminist and independent rest of the Trobadora book.
I I can't remember what the other intermezzos are so far, but the first one I know is about writing the journalism story about the conference. That was it was
Mhm.
mostly focused on that. And this one is focused a lot predating the 218 where you say like I'm looking at 215 is meetings with the party. Like the party meetings, which is very much like Golden Notebook and that sort of statement and where the one guy like switches from Lenin to Stalin and or vice versa, I forget which way it goes. But then it's like, that's treason. Like, that's horrible. Like, you violated the codes and that sort of like documentation, like the secretary nature of these parties shows up. And I haven't been clocking like what these intermezzos are. So I don't understand them. Like, they're just sort of in there. And I don't think if you read them separate from this book, they would make any more sense as like a unified narrative
Mm.
because these characters are influenced by what happens to them outside of the intermezzos to some degree, or our understanding of them is part of that. So it's all very like Flann O'Brien like foolishness in terms of like layers of characters reflecting on each other. But I had marked
Mhm.
that 215 both because of the like for the that party element to it, and also because I think the title of this episode is on there, which is When I Was a Barge, which I just think is a great phrase. When I was a barge.
Bodie McBoatface.
Wasn't that going to be like a mascot or something?
It was, I think.
It was like a, I think in the UK they like allowed people to name. It was supposed to be some like altruistic. Let's let people decide to name the
Yeah.
new boat, and the most popular name was Bodie McBoatface.
Yep.
It's like
Which I think one of Minnesota's plows, like whatever city someone it in as an ode to that got a plow named like Plowy McPlowface.
Or like when they were going to rename the Washington football team and they just wanted to call it Dan Snyder's a piece of shit. And everyone voted for it, but for some reason they decided no. I don't know.
The best was when they let the internet decide Mountain Dew was going to have a new flavor, and they let and they let the internet decide. And I think number one was Gushing Granny.
Yeah.
No.
Number two was Fapple.
Apple.
Fapple. Number three, if I recall, it's a video. It's like you can't. So I think number three was Hitler did nothing wrong. Was going to be one of the names of the,
No.
and then
It's the
four.
East German voting bloc.
Yeah, and then four was I forget what diabetes. I think was
Oh
the,
my God.
but gushing Granny was the number one winner for the flavor. They didn't name it that.
Well
But you
played.
cannot let the internet decide anything. They're gonna go straight to troll mode. Like it's
Not gonna be good. It's never gonna be good. Um, okay.
Gushing Granny. That's a good band name.
Our last part, the last section for this is book 9, in which a woman named Penthesilea
Yeah,
brings
that's a name.
sure brings
Penthesilea.
Laura a box from Valeska Cantus containing Hadean stories and a wondrous prospects for new research in the field of animate matter. And Valeska is the one that has, in the previous intermezzo, been married to Uba. They're getting divorced. So this is again one of those crossing moments. Although Uva's shown up already in our beginning part. And this is the part they were talking about where there's like a ton of stuff about like making more food and artificially creating food, which feels very much of our time and very much some Silicon Valley nonsense, but
Very
also like
Lanark.
very Lanark with those little foodstuffs.
Hmm.
Very, yeah, very much of that kind of space and moment. And this was, I mean, this is weird because it was back to that Mulligan Stew stuff where there's like a lot of technical writing in here and a lot of like sort of boring stuff, and then it thrown in the thing that not the joke you're talking about, but schnapps, but like where Uba asks, this is where they get divorced, actually. I apologize. This is where they get divorced. And Uba says, we'll come out to the bar for schnapps. And she says she can't because she declares alcohol to be unhealthy for fetuses. So that's the part that I remember. So she's knocked up. And then the other part that I wanted to mention from this that I thought was interesting, and there's all this protein stuff, all this making stuff. I don't know what you guys want to make of that or how you do. That's all. Please do. Please expand. But on 229, this I thought was also very important. Is the middle of the like towards the bottom. It says Clemens read with colored pens and a ruler. Valeska devoured. He preferred books that put the world in order. She preferred books that described how to make a world. And that again might go back to that fundamental sort of
Hmm.
difference that we're talking about. Like in this book, Morgner is sort of creating a world and creating the rules of the world as we go along. The person from 800 years ago can be here, and there's a unicorn and dragons and all that kind of stuff. It also reminds me of what I believe is the central thesis of On the Calculation of Volume, the Solveig Bailey books that are coming out from New Directions, translated from Danish. It's like a 7-book series. Each book is like 120 pages, 150 pages. Each one of those volumes, it's all about a woman stuck in the same day of November 18th, blah, blah, blah. But each one of those volumes seems to address one element of creating a novel. So, like, how do you make time work? How do you make space work? How do you make this work? How do you have coincidence? And each one of them seems to hit, like, how do you create a world? Which makes it interesting. Although, to be honest, like, by the last book of that, I'm like, we could just bring out all of them at once. I don't need this bullshit of waiting 2 years for the next 4 volumes. It's not that interesting. It's fine. It would be better if I could read it all at once. But, anyways, that made me think of that. But with the rest of the section, what did you guys make of this with the foodstuffs, aside from the Lanark connection?
Just to go off what you said with what the section you just read, it kind of makes me think. We have the archetype where the feminine is like creativity and chaos, and like the masculine is structure and order. I find it interesting that Valeska's father is a typesetter. I don't want to like overthink it too much, but thinking out loud, it kind of makes me think how like typesetting is like so ordered and structured when writing is supposed to be this like creative act, right? And like the typesetting is taking this creativity and like boxing it into this order and structure that allows it to be consumed by all. And so you have this nutritionist writing some weird shit, and her dad was like this, like, you know, typesetter.
I,
I don't know if that's overthinking it too much, but
oh, to add to
it's
that, overthink it even
interesting.
more, is that a lot of that kind of mechanistic stuff ties into like the socialist enterprise and the way of
Yeah.
like everyone's job is their job, even so
Yep.
far as that writing is not. There's a mention where Laura's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I proved the point. You can just go off and write a story within 24 hours if you're told to." Like that idea of create it by the yard, create like the socialist realist books that are giving you a
Hmm.
moral. That's what's important. Creativity doesn't count. It's the collective, not the individual spirit, right? So
Yeah.
I think you're onto something with that because I think that that sort of patterned, put it into boxes, make everything work under these sort of like conditions. Socialist enterprise is at odds with Beatrice and her like flightiness, like literally, and her like creativity and the poetry generator, all that stuff that's like spitting forth ideas also ties into two other books, as I'm listing as many books as possible on this episode, maybe as like some sort of internal game, is the Museum of Eternos novel by Macedonio Fernandez is very much where like a woman is at the core of it telling endless stories, which is then embodied in The Absent City by Riccardo Piglia, which is about a woman that's like telling all the stories that create this sort of world. And that does seem to be like sort of a metaphor that could work for this book too, although there's neither one of them, they're both creating a world, but it's not the same, but it like has that spirit to it a little bit. Although those two books are by men, so they have a lot of like, I don't know, men stuff in them, rules, structures. I don't know, whatever. What do you guys got? So I don't
I
know, anything else you want to add to this before we sort of wrap up?
um I kind of glazed over at the all the science stuff, and I I just took it in stride with the rest of um the fourth intermezzo that was sort of golden notebookish. But I will say that this does kind of scratch that itch of having recipes in books if you're very science based. Um, I also wanted to just shout out again, Brian mentioned it earlier when saying that Beatrice was just very magical, that the little sort of fantasy fiction aspects like Melusine blowing in through the chimney and causing a wreck and havoc is it's very entertaining, and I think those parts are quite fun, and I do think that like when then she oh yeah that's right, Melusine sends like a potential new daddy for Vesselin to Laura's balcony, the like asleep guy on the cardboard cutout of a cloud in his jeans, and then writes that letter to her and is like, hey, if you liked what you saw, I can, send him back for more. You just can't drop that hat. And also I do appreciate that even with the sort of magic and fantasy aspect, that even Melusine is like, just you need to give me a heads up so I can go through the bureaucratic steps and get the vouchers for magic in time. Like it's still very rooted in the bureaucratic politics of it. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for next week, we're going to go up through page 299, which covers the fifth intermezzo and book 10. So it's two parts for next week. And otherwise, you can always find us wherever you find us, all that kind of fun stuff. What do you guys got for lines of the week? I've got two, so I'm waiting for someone to make a pick.
Um, I have to look back and find mine.
I'm
Brian?
going to go with page 233 with all this talk about men and women and creativity. Sometimes I like to be a plant. For example, a dandelion or a lesbian.
I love that. I have that underlined too. I thought that was great. It's great. I'm going to choose mine, Kaya, although I might end with a second one because I think it's important. But uh, this, we do say the town is split, right? Like there's no special weird pronunciation that I'm just finding.
Yes, it's split.
Okay. So on page 202,
I think it's located in Yugoslavia.
yeah, in the Yugoslavia, yeah,
They didn't make the tournament this year though, but maybe next World Cup.
somehow Yugoslavia was no eligible. So on page 202, this is the part that I referred to earlier. For in Split, I didn't feel dependent on miracles. If I disregarded the American female tourists, Ignoring them was impossible. In this jumble of peoples, which brings money to the tourist attraction day after day, one recognizes the American woman right away, not only in groups, but also individually. These victims of the terror of success, whose idol is youth, fit into the organism of the old town of Split like ball gowns on the nude beaches of Krebny Otak Island. I just thought that was funny. It's like a silly sort of insult. I dig it. And then she does go on to be like, they're not like these Dalmatian women who are like elegant and refined. Like these Americans are out of control. And preach it. Go, Beatrice. You go, girl.
Yep.
You go, girl.
I've been watching.
Let's clip that.
I've been watching the fucking World Cup. I've seen Americans want to be American.
Louise.
Yeah, whatever. It's late.
My favorite line is from page 181, chapter 10, which is wherein Beatrice describes Laura's great aunt as, quote, Berta of the blossoming bed, where it's just Laura's great aunt Berta, who's like old and like probably in her last years, but also just sort of loving her position in life. And my takeaway line is, quote, the fun of getting old is disorder.
Nice, nice. I do want to end with one last one then, just for you guys as we go out, because this ties into all the things you were saying, Kaija. So 242, very last page that we read. Obviously, a woman must be more talented than a man if she wants to achieve the same things. In professions that require the person to exhaust herself, in science, for example, that becomes clear. In others, it doesn't. The women just wear out sooner from the double burden, which is strictly contrary to the ideal of beauty. So that was a pretty good little manifesto. So, anyways, find us, rate us, review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Substack, buy some Open Letter books, buy some Coffee House books, buy Joytime Killbox. Follow Kaija. They can follow you on KM Stramina on Instagram. There's also open_letter on Instagram. Brian doesn't use it. I don't really use it. I think I have an account. You can find it. It's not going to have shit anymore, but there we are. Any final words from anyone?
Give a woman in your life some fucking time, Christ.